Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I want to talk to you about the H1B policy. Donald Trump has increased the application fee for H1B visas to $100,000. Initially, it was around $1,000, both for the application as well as the lottery fees. And apparently, with all the legal services, etc., it would cost less than $10,000 for the first-time applicant and less than $6,000 for the renewals. But now, just straight up add $100,000 to the cost of applying H1B. So there was initially a lot of confusion when the policy was announced and a lot of panic. It's in fact a lot of people, especially from India, ended up spending a lot of money. One gentleman spent $8,000 trying to get back into the United States before Sunday night. Because there was this fear that if you were not in the US and if you were on H1B and you came back into the US after September 21st, which is today now, you would end up being denied entry if your company had not paid $100,000 to the US government. So there was a lot of misunderstanding about the policy. In fact, I think that the Donald Trump's administration rolled out the policy without fully clarifying and thinking it through, and then the panic that set in with a lot of pressure coming from IT companies, especially the giants here, Google, Amazon, and even JP Morgan, which is a major recruiter of H1B visas, user of H1B visas. All of them put a lot of pressure on the administration, so they clarified. So you will find that for example, one of the biggest confusion was how often you would have to pay the fees. So, for example, Howard Lutnick said several times that you would have to pay $100,000 every year. And then later on, the clarifications came, which says obviously it is not such the case. There was also confusion as to on whom the fees was applicable. If you already had an H1B, would you have to pay that also? Or if you were looking for a renewal, would you have to pay? So there was a lot of, clearly the policy was not well articulated. So that raised the question, why did the administration rush it? So there are some thoughts that I would like to share. So in this conversation, I will talk to you about 3-4 things. One, I will just talk about the clarifications that have come through for those people who are still a bit confused about how the policy will be implemented. Don't take this as final. It's quite possible as soon as I finish broadcasting, you might see a change being announced by the White House. Sometimes these changes come in response to questions asked by journalists. So there is a lot of fluidity in policy with the Trump administration. So number one question that I want to address after clarifying the clarifications is one, why this policy? What is Donald Trump trying to achieve? Why now? And then what impact it will have on the US and also on India and China. So the first thing, let me share with you this clarification, which was posted by Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary of the White House. Even in this, there's redundancy. Such a small post, even that there is a redundancy. But anyway, this is what she says. To be clear, this is not an annual fee. It's a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. If you notice 1 and 3, there is not much of a difference. It's a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. Those who already hold H1B visas and are currently outside the country right now will not be charged by $100,000 to re-enter. H1B visa holders can leave and re-enter the country to the same extent as they normally would. Whatever ability they have to do that is not impacted by yesterday's proclamation. This applies only to new visas, not renewals, and not current visa holders. So there are overall about 600,000 people who probably are on H1B visas. By some counts, it is about 400,000. None of them have to worry. This policy is not going. So basically, it's not going to be applied regressively in the retrospect. It is going to be applied only going forward for the new lottery. And the new lottery, I think, is not due until March of next year. The quota has already been filled for 2026. So the lottery has been over. So there is now enough time for people to plan, for companies to come up with strategies. Already many immigration lawyers are planning to sue the Trump administration. So it is quite possible that by the time the next lottery comes around, there might be further changes in the policy as a result of judicial interventions and also lobbying, heavy lobbying. And given the fluidity of the way the policies are being made by this White House, you can expect that there might be significant changes. But one thing is for sure, that there will be no return to what the H1B policy was a few days ago. The MAGA crowd, especially the MAGA crowd, the hardcore, crazy, conservative right wingers, the kind of people Indians love a lot because they are very similar to the BJP right wingers in India. They are the ones who are going after MAGA and this after H1B. And this anti H1B sentiment in the MAGA crowd is also generating a very anti India statement. So go back and look at some of the major people like Laura Loomer, etc., Steve Bannon, and others, and see the comments that they are posting about this. They feel basically that India is stealing American jobs. And so they want that companies are using H1B visa and India is using it to steal American jobs. Companies are doing that because they are paying low salaries to Indians who are taking those jobs. And so they want these jobs for Americans only. So this is the clarification. So let me make it very clear. It applies only for people who are now going to apply for H1B going forward. Those who already are on H1B, you can travel freely. It's not going to impact you. But I would recommend don't. The policy says it doesn't, but who knows? Another tweet and then things can change. So be very careful, be very smart. Because it's going to have a huge impact on your life and on your career path. And it's also going to hugely impact in industries, especially IT industry, especially in India. So that's as far as the clarifications are concerned. If there are more, I will be able to, if there are more clarifications that you need, please ask me in the questions and I will answer them after I've finished making my presentation. The second thing I just wanted to show you are which are the countries really which are hugely impacted. As you can see, of the H1B beneficiaries in 2024, 71% were Indians, 280,000, 250,000 Indians. Their future is based on America. So all the IT talent from India is coming to the United States. Next is China, 46,000, and then Philippines, Canada, South Korea, etc. They are just all 1%. So there is nobody more than 1%. So clearly the only country that is going to be hugely impacted is India. And we will talk about its implications. I think it's going to be a major, major blow on India. People can talk in terms of bravado because these days a lot of people in India have only one concern, which is protecting Modi from any consequences of his own policies. No one is asking the question as to how Modi's negotiations with Donald Trump have been an utter failure in the second term, completely devastating. India has ended up with the world's highest tariffs. Nobody in the world has as much tariffs as India has right now, which is 50%. India has ended up with several sanctions that the Donald Trump administration has imposed as recently as last week, banning India from using the Chabahar port in Iran, etc. So so Narendra Modi's foreign policy has become an utter failure. He's unable to negotiate with Donald Trump, unable to protect India's interests, and just blaming Donald Trump doesn't work on that, because when the policy worked, you are giving credit to Narendra Modi and not to Donald Trump or to Joe Biden. And so now when it fails, he should take at least some responsibility. And he has no ideas, and he hasn't even spoken to the public on what all of this means to India. And nevertheless, and quickly, I wanted to share one more piece of data before I move to discussing some of the policy issues. So these are the heaviest users of H1B visas. The reason why I'm showing this is the biggest is an American company, Amazon. But if you look at number 2 is Tata Consulting Services. Cognizant is also, I think, an Indian company. Then you have other companies like Infosys and others who are also impacted by this. I don't know why Infosys is not listed here, but it's in the top 10. So in the top 10, there are about 3 to 4 Indian companies which are also hugely impacted by this policy. So now, first question, why is Donald Trump trying to do this? The reason why Donald Trump is trying to do this is like the same policy that he implemented with regards to tariffs. The goal of the tariffs is he feels that because of globalization, countries like India and China and other countries have taken huge advantage of the United States, which is true. India exports a lot of stuff to America on very low tariffs. The average tariffs are 3%. And then they block American exports to India, not just in the agricultural and dairy products, but also in other areas. Manufacturing, cars, etc., 50, 60% tariffs for the last 30, 40 years. India is complaining that Donald Trump has imposed 50% tariffs on India, but India has imposed 50% tariffs, 60%, 100% tariffs on many American products for the last 30 years. The same with Japan. Japan also blocks not just America's agricultural product, but has restrictions on American car exports to Japan. And Japan's 20% of Japan's all exports are cars to the US. So Japan has taken advantage of the US since 1970s. So Donald Trump is partly right in that. It's a different thing that Americans have benefited from the free trade agreement more than most other countries. That's why it is still the biggest economy in the world, a massive one at $31 trillion, with 26% of the share of the global GDP. India, with the fastest growing major economy, just has 3% of the global share of the global GDP, just 3%. So you can see the difference. But Donald Trump feels that two things he's really upset with: this huge trade deficits which other countries have accumulated, and the trade barriers that they have constructed to prevent America from exporting its goods. So Donald Trump wants to reindustrialize America. He wants to use tariffs to reindustrialize America. He wants to use them to force other countries to open their markets, especially for American agricultural products, because American farmers are suffering significantly. So that's what he was trying to do with the tariffs. Now, with the H1B visa, he's trying to do the same thing in IT services. So he's trying to force companies to pay. And he's going to penalize American companies for hiring foreign labor. He's saying, why are you bringing in foreign experts? For how long? I mean, this thing has been going on for 25 years now. So if you remember, a few days ago or a few weeks ago, I had made this challenge to the Trump administration saying that if they give me 10%, 10% of what money they have spent on wars in Ukraine and Israel, about $300 billion to those two countries. Give me 10% of that $30 billion, and in a few years, I will make H1B unnecessary. With $30 billion, I can run a program here to generate American talent. I will go and find them in high schools. I will fund them. I will pay them to come here and do engineering from University of Delaware, and we will create the IT talent that America needs. We give 85,000 H1Bs. We can generate them easily if we got a $30 billion budget investment into the education. And that can be paid by these companies which bring foreign people here in the US. So that is what Donald Trump is saying. Like, you want to bring foreigners and pay them less? Okay, I'm going to change that calculation. I'm going to make you pay more. So you have a choice. Either you bring foreigners and pay more, or use that $100,000 to hire Americans and train them. That's his point. And I don't know whether that is going to happen, whether American students are willing to take that job or not. All American students want to do is work off their iPhones, whether they want to sit down and learn coding. Or plus, there's no discussion of what artificial intelligence and its development of AI agents, etc., are going to do to the IT industry itself. Maybe if Donald Trump had just not done anything, AI would have simply destroyed this whole business of bringing in foreign talent who basically are coders primarily. So that is the whole issue, that he wants to bring IT jobs to America, and he doesn't want American companies investing in the development of other countries. He wants them to invest here. So that is the logic. Whether it will work or not, we will see. But why is he trying to do it now? Why did he roll out a policy which is not ready yet? There was clearly no clarification. Lutnick kept saying that you have to pay $100,000 every year. And now Caroline Levitt clarifies, saying that is not the case. So did they change the policy from Friday to Saturday, or was Lutnick confused? Did he read the proclamation? And if you read the proclamation, it's not clear at all. So the point is, why did they rush out this half-baked idea? I'm not very sure. But if we go by the assumption that this primarily targets India, it doesn't target India, it targets India's success story. India's success story is dependent on IT's growth and this whole talk of people who came here on H1B visas and became CEOs, American companies, etc. So India's success story is completely tied to India's IT industry and not their achievements in India. There's nothing much to talk about, but their achievements in America. The domination of Indian engineers and Indian IT personnel in the US IT industry is India's success story, a big part of it. And is that what Donald Trump is targeting? And if that is the case, then why is he doing this? And I think it's part of the bilateral trade agreement. So this week, Donald Trump came up with several blows on India, but the two biggest blows was to end the permission or exemption that they had for India to use the Chabahar port in Iran. They took it away. So now India cannot use Chabahar port, or there will be additional sanctions on India going forward. So that's one big blow. The second blow is this H1B thing. And this is while simultaneously there is a negotiation of the bilateral trade agreement going on. So Donald Trump is saying, so imagine now Piyush Goyal negotiating with Howard Lutnick or Scott Bessent and saying, well, can you please give us back the exemption on Chabahar port? And then Scott Bessent will say, yeah, but what are you going to give us? And then India will say, okay, can you please make sure that more Indian students get to go to America? And Scott Bessent says, great, what are you going to give us? And then you're going to say, can you give more jobs to India? That's what you're going to say, right? To reduce the fee in H1B. Can you give Indians more jobs? And Scott Bessent is going to say, what are you going to give me back in return? So he's just stacking up stuff or chips on his negotiation table. But it's not going to go. It's not going to be fully reversed. I can tell you this much. There are legal cases that the law firms are filing cases. There will be some backlash from this corporation. These are very rich corporations. They have lots of money, so they can throw a lot of money at the legal system. They can also pressure and lobby the Trump administration, but the cat is out of the bag. Now, if Donald Trump were to reverse himself, the MAGA crowd will go nuts and crazy and saying you're surrendering. You're surrendering America first policies to tech first policies or India first policies. So what Donald Trump has done is he's locked himself out of this policy. And so no matter what the IT companies do, they can modify this policy, they can reduce its impact. As you can see, instead of paying every year, now they have to pay it only one time and so on and so forth. Instead of applying in retrospect, it is going to be applied only for new H1Bs, etc. So there will be some modification, maybe further reduction, maybe more exemptions to the $100,000. Maybe they will say, okay, all those Americans, those students who have graduated from American universities with advanced degrees like masters and PhDs should be excluded from this H1B. I don't know how that is all going to work out, but at the best we can hope is that this policy will become less severe. But that doesn't mean that it will not impact. So let's talk about the main issues that I want to touch upon. How does it impact India? How does it impact America? It's going to have a huge impact on India, whether you like it or not. And let me tell you this: I just heard the latest speech that Prime Minister Modi gave, and he says, "Oh, let's reduce the tax on GST so you can buy more Indian stuff." That's not going to solve any of these problems, and he has not presented any ideas on how that works really going forward. So this current Modi government seems to be unable to handle Donald Trump at all. The best thing that they can do is to run to Beijing and look silly. That's it. That's the only response that India has given to the United States in the last 7 months. And there have been attack upon attack on India, very severe ones, which are going to damage the Indian economy. And denying it is just foolish, because once the data starts coming in, they will be on top of you. But the most critical aspect is that the core of India's success story has been the IT industry, and the core of the IT industry has been exports to the United States. So India's exports in IT field is around $300 billion, 70% of it which goes abroad, most of it to the United States. So will this policy impact India's service industry exports? I don't think so. I think it might actually increase that. So India might be exporting more service goods to the US, because what is going to happen is, if people cannot bring people to come here, H1B, then they're going to offshore the projects. So there will be more projects going to Bangalore than Bangaloreans coming to the United States to work here. So that is, I think, an immediate change that might take place in India, where you might see that exports to the US in service industry will go up rather than go down. So unless the Donald Trump's administration then takes steps to stop that too, because if American companies are going to outsource all these projects, which means then they don't have to hire Americans and they're not going to train Americans. So this whole idea of using the H1B fees to generate uh, tech employment for Americans is not going to work if the projects themselves are sent abroad. So it's like saying, okay, we are not going to hire foreigners and bring them to America, but we're going to hire foreigners overseas to do the job from there. But it's going to impact a lot of delivery issues, consulting issues, etc. The other alternative is that Indian companies which rely on this heavily will have to rethink their entire business model. So they will have to hire locally and deliver services, and then we will know whether how competitive they really are. So it's definitely going to disrupt the Indian IT industry's business model significantly going forward. And the initial impact is going to be, it's going to slow that down. And if Donald Trump comes up with another policy which makes sense logically, that prevents companies from outsourcing tech services to other countries in the world, then it will definitely be a major, major blow on India's IT industry. And it will definitely India will have to rethink it. That's the driver. So if you look at the previous quarter, the biggest driver of Indian economy was services, which was at 9.3% growth rate. Indian economy grew at about 7%. And 9.3% was services. Manufacturing and agriculture were both below the national average, growth average for the last quarter. So it's going to have an impact on that. Will it impact India-US relations? Probably, unless the Modi government is just pretending to suck up to this government no matter what. So they haven't fully recovered from the shock. They're still struggling. Donald Trump is still claiming that he used the trade to make ceasefire. When he was in London last week, or just a few days ago, he made that claim again, that he brought about ceasefire between India and Pakistan using trade leverage. And if India again denies that, it's going to drive him crazier. So we will see what happens on that issue. How does this impact the US? It's going to hurt the United States significantly. Okay, there is absolutely no doubt. 30% of all IT people in the US in IT industry are from India at the moment. So whether they are cheap labor or not, I don't know, because they are paid very well. Apparently, the median salary of all new H1B employees is 97,000, and the median salary of people whose H1B is renewed, which means 3 years later, is $120,000. So they are getting about $30,000 raise. They're making 10,000 extra every year, and median means that median is that mark below which half the people are below and half the people are up. So fresh H1B people who are coming to the US, half of them are getting less than 97,000, but half of them are making more than 97,000. So I don't know whether that is cheap labor or not. Like if they were hiring American kids from colleges, would they be paying more than $97,000 for IT? I don't know. That has to be seen. I couldn't find any data on that particular question. So for America, this is going to be very difficult for American companies to simply adjust automatically to find talent where there is no talent right now. So they will have to go and find kids with potential and train them. And because for the last 20 years, American companies have not invested in American universities. Yes, they've invested in research, but not in having successful master's programs and engineering programs. They've not invested in them as much as they should have. they have kind of damaged the US production of talent itself because they just went for cheap talent outside. It's like saying that you're going to bring all the cooks from outside. Then why is there any incentive for Americans to learn cooking? And now suddenly you say, okay, no more cooks. And then what's going to happen? People are not going to learn cooking right away. People are going to starve as a result of that. That's what's happening in the US. Will the US domestic academia and academics are, I can tell you right away that even if tomorrow Microsoft or Amazon comes to University of Delaware and says, here's $1 billion, get things done. Academics are so slow, so stupid. By the time they come up with new courses and adjustment, it'll be 2 years at least. And all this stupid voting and the deans, and we have so many unnecessary people at American universities, vice presidents. Everyone wants to justify their stupid jobs. So the decision making in American academia is slow, ineffective, and most probably they will make the wrong decisions because they will prioritize something else, culture, identity, and all of this other rubbish stuff, and lose the competitive edge, which is what America right now needs in the tech industry. So what we need to do is find the smartest kids, give them money to go through programs which are quickly designed and implemented. Can we do that? No. Remember the Biden administration tried to build a wharf to provide aid to the Palestinians. It took them 6 months to build it, and then it collapsed. It was ridiculous. If you had asked some Chinese company, they would have built it over the weekend and delivered it. So there's this problem also that even if Donald Trump forces America to adjust, will it be able to adjust quickly enough to prevent significant damage to America's competitiveness? So this is what it's going to do to the US. America's growth on the IT side is going to slow down. Innovation is going to decline. Creativity is going to decline. Competitiveness of American companies is going to decline. And it's going to create a problem. I think the beneficiaries could be not India and China, but also Europeans. So Canada, United Kingdom, which has a shorter period for all of this kind of stuff. So it's going to hurt America's economy, the very thing that Donald Trump is so proud of and is betting everything on the great American economy. That is going to definitely suffer. Already inflation is high, unemployment is beginning to rise in the US. So what's going to happen is by December of this year, we're going to see a lot of negative stuff coming forward on the US. The stock market is still up there. The Feds have reduced the interest rates, but they felt the need to reduce interest rates because they wanted to keep inflation down. So inflation, unemployment, and the decline of growth of various companies is potentially what we're looking at in 3 to 4 months going forward if Donald Trump continues to have these kind of policy impacts. He should design these policies in closer consultation with the industries and read them through. But he's in a rush. He's in a rush to change the world and change America. And in that process, he's breaking a lot of eggs. And one of the biggest eggs could be India's IT industry. So anyway, those are the things that I wanted to share with you. And so if there are any interesting questions, as usual, super chat, super thanks, and members will be given priority. And then we will look forward. Rah Guzar, what a nice name. I know the anxiety is very high. Samir, good evening to you too. Samir is a member of Conversations. Welcome. Sir, my younger brother is not US citizen, but he has a huge house in Los Angeles and his both kids are US citizens. His job is in Wipro. Oh, he should not worry, but you must also realize if he is either a green card, he must be a green card holder if he has a house, if he owns a house already. So the green cards will be renewed, but the transition apparently from H1 to green card to citizenship is taking a lot of time for people, and that time, because there's a backlog of 1 million Indians, literally 1 million, 10 lakh Indians are in the waiting list for this pathway. So the kids obviously are safe. And as long as he keeps his job, and even if he loses his job, as long as he has the green card, he doesn't have to worry. But if he's on H1, then I wonder how he bought the house. But for now, he is not impacted. This $100,000 does not impact him at all. Uh, Arun, yeah, make it 10 lakhs. What's going to happen? Not many people are coming. India is not a major tourist site, Arun. I don't know what you're talking about. This will only hurt Indian Americans who go home to see their parents and relatives. India, with all its talk, it is not in the top five tourist venues that people go to. So, so I don't know what you think. How this is going to be a retaliation against Americans? I don't know. Mahmood Salam Khan, I'm great at my IoT. I really enjoy your videos. Thank you. Hello, Mahmood. Tushar, with the H1B visa fee hike, isn't there a risk of jobs itself moving out of US instead of Americans? Yes, I mean not jobs, but projects. So they could outsource the project itself. But already that had begun, so lots of people are saying that already you can see a decline since COVID in terms of the H1Bs that were being hired. Artificial If you look at the conversations that is going on about the H1B fees, not many people are talking about the impact of AI. I think I'm the only one who's saying that, look, this is a double blow on this whole idea. One is because of the technological developments of AI, and the other is the hike in H1B fees. But I think Donald Trump, probably the next thing that is coming down the pike is a change in the policy. We should ask to the Indian intelligence, you should ask this question to Ajit Doval. He's supposed to be the super spy, right? The greatest spy in the world in India's history. He should be able to tell us if there is a policy coming down that all he's interested in is killing Indians here in Canada and here, and killing people in Pakistan and all these people. That's all he's focused on. The purpose of intelligence is to get an inclination of what is coming down the pike, right? So what is Indian intelligence saying to Indian government about future policies of the Trump administration? Are they going to impose some kind of a tariff on companies that outsource projects? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right? If the purpose of hiking the H1B fees is to create jobs, IT jobs in America, then they need to close the back door, which is outsourcing. And so I won't be surprised if in less than a month or two, you see a measure that makes outsourcing more expensive. And if you remember a few months ago, actually, Donald Trump did say in one of his press conferences that I'm going to go after companies which build factories in China and send jobs to India. He said that very clearly. I will go after companies that build factories in China and outsource jobs to India, which is both outsourcing jobs. India gets service jobs, China gets manufacturing jobs, and he's planning to go after both of them. Usman Khaled, no, Trump is not fooling Modi with his sweet talk. It is Modi who's fooling Indians with that. Just because Donald Trump says, okay, you're a great guy, happy birthday to you, doesn't mean anything at all. He says that to everybody. He says that about Obama. He says that about everyone. Donald Trump says a lot of things, but the real stuff is what he's doing, and he's doing what he has been doing since he became, let me just tell you, since he became president, there has been nothing nice that he has done for India, even though there were Indians who were doing puja for his success. First thing he did not invite Modi. In fact, Dr. Jaishankar sat here for 2 weeks lobbying to get Modi invited. Modi would have come running if he was invited for the inauguration, but he was not invited to the inauguration at all. Okay, Xi Jinping was, and who declined. It's a huge difference. Xi Jinping said no, thank you, and he sent his assistant. That was should have given you an idea. Number two, after that, Donald Trump then started raising tariffs, 50%, of which 25% is sanctions on India for buying Russian oil without punishing China and Turkey and Hungary, other countries. Only India was isolated on this. And it's going on and on since then. Student visas have been restricted significantly. Nearly 70% of student appointments were delayed. So we will see soon, in another 2 weeks, you will see the data of incoming international students. I just saw a report which saying that close to 80-90% of the apartments are empty in Boston, which international students used to rent. So the inflow of international students into Boston, which means you are talking about Harvard University, Boston University, MIT, uh, and Northeastern. So these are big universities in Boston which bring in a lot of international students, and they're not. So these are all blow after blow after blow on India. And what has Modi done? Nothing. Just went and sucked up to Xi Jinping in Beijing, and Trump is not impressed with that at all. If people think that that's going to impress Americans, you are mistaken. Just Modi going to Beijing is no big deal. It's a problem for Modi because he'll now have to tolerate Xi Jinping. Praveen, in your opinion, past Trump, would the next administration reverse? Oh, this is a good question. This is something we've been discussing with my students also. So, no, there are many things he cannot do. See, the biggest issue on which Trump won the election was immigration. Immigration has lots of non-economic implications. There's this huge fear that the white population could soon become a minority in America. So with the white people going away, the so-called Judeo-Christian civilization will not be able to control America. America will now be controlled by brown people who belong to other religions like Islam and Hinduism. Okay, while Hindus think that they demonize Islam and Muslims, especially from India. You can see a lot of anti-Muslim hatred coming on Twitter about Muslims in America and about Muslims in UK, particularly in UK. The right wing doesn't make any difference. They're going to go after all brown people. They want to reduce the presence of brown people here. Plus, especially India, because Indians have abused the systems the most. The largest number of people who overstay their visas in UK are Indians. There are 700,000 Guspitias or illegal migrants from India into the US. So all of that is making people very angry. In India, in America, that became a big issue, the border and immigration. So all of these policies are driven by immigration, not just the tariff things. So when the new president comes in, unless it's J.D. Vance, another Republican, then these policies will continue, especially if it's J.D. Vance. There is no, I mean, MAGA has completely swallowed the Republicans. And there is nobody out there in the Republican Party right now who is challenging Donald Trump. The only people who are critical of Donald Trump on the right are actually MAGA people, people like Tucker Carlson and others who are cherry picking some policies. They are targeting America's Israel first policies, and they're targeting some small things like on freedom of speech and those kind of issues. But they're not overall challenging Donald Trump. So which means that the masses, the Republican masses, are still MAGA. And so the next guy who will come in, if it's a Republican, it will be a MAGA person. And if a Democrat comes in, no Democratic president is going to say, okay, now I'm opening the border. Okay, now illegal people can come in. All right, now Americans can send their jobs to screw American students, fire all American students, send the jobs to India, kick out Americans from your companies, bring more Indians back into the US. No president is going to say that. So I think that there will be some reversals, like we will go back quickly and join the Paris Accords. If a Democrat wins, we will go back into the UNICEF and some of these human rights organizations internationally. Those are low-hanging fruits. But on big policies, I'm not very sure that we will be able to fully reverse. There will be some reversals, but not fully reverse policies. Plus, if Donald Trump hangs around for 3.5 years, then there will be so many significant changes in the structure of the US economy that reversing it is not going to be fully possible. So, good question, Praveen, but my answer, I guess, is not optimistic. I don't know what Arun is listing countries. Anurag Parekh, yes, there is a lot of anti-India sentiments. Indians are going out of their stupid minds. They're doing all kinds of stupid shit here. And it's irritating people. Some of the processions, etc. They're starting all that rubbish they do in India. So, what are they going to start lynching people here for eating cows? Are they going to go to Burger Kings and McDonald's and start killing Americans who eat beef? Is that the next thing that Indians are going to do in America, like they do in India? Nobody is held accountable. They lynch people on simply accusations that you're eating beef. Are they going to do that kind of rubbish here? No, but there's more attention to that kind of stuff. There are a lot of complaints, especially in Canada, about certain Hindu rituals which are anti-pollution, environmentally problematic. You can see those videos are all on social media. And so there is some anger to that. Plus, there's all this obsession, like that videos that, oh, we are successful here just because of Modi. And then Modi comes and does these big shows. And so people start to say, oh my God, there are 50,000 Indians here. What are they doing here? And they don't seem to be loyal to America. They seem to be loyal to a foreign country ruled by basically a nut. That's how they're thinking. So what is Modi trying to do by projecting power? I know he's gaining power at home. He's getting a lot of money from NRIs to win elections in India. But he has created this feeling of awareness, like in Australian protests, we're targeting Indian immigration alone. Plus, Indians, with all their talk about India's success story, apparently no Indian wants to live in India. They all want to go to foreign countries. Okay, like even Piyush Goyal's entire family apparently is here. Dr. Jaishankar's son is here. So all these BJP leaders who talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat and Sanatani Bharat and Bharat Hindutva, Bharat, Hindu nationalism, all of that, their children don't want to live in India. All educated Indians want to go anywhere else. They want to go to Germany, they want to go to Ireland, they want to go to Australia, they want to go to New Zealand. These are all countries where the biggest incoming migrants are from India. And one reason for that is because in spite of all the talk about Indian economy, the fastest growing economy, it has no jobs. It has no jobs. The more educated you are, the less jobs there are for you in India. And so we are rushing. We are being saved by the Middle East and the West. There is 1 crore people working in the Middle East. And this obsession with Israel, the more pro-Israel India becomes, there will be more and more anger towards India, even in the Middle East. So India has to think it through. This Modi's foreign policy is going to do a lot of damage to India just because Modi wants to stay in power endlessly. And so he doesn't talk about his achievements when it comes to campaigning. Remember that. Go back to 2024 campaigns. Did they say, oh, we built these great roads, we created jobs for young people? No, it's all anti-Muslim stuff. They will take away your Mangal Sutras and we will go after the Waqf properties, and we will build new temples over mosques in Mathura and Varanasi. These are the problems. We will go after Kashmir and constitute. These are the achievements of the Modi government on which it wins elections, not because of its good governance. So we are going to see a lot of this racism against America. And it's not just Indians. Keep in mind, this is going to hurt the Pakistanis who are here because they're brown. So there is a rise of white nationalism across Europe and in the US. And it's going to go after all brown and black people. You look like me, you're in trouble in this country. So because a lot of us who look like me are Indians, Indians are going to suffer more. And since COVID, the Chinese communities have suffered a lot. The anti-China hate in America and certain European countries, especially using words like, calling COVID Kung Flu and all of those kind of things, Wuhan virus and all. Indians contributed to it too. Indians contributed to China hatred in the West. Go and look. at some of the videos that even some of the prominent Indian anchors have done, which are anti-China. Indian plus the largest number of people on Twitter, etc., promoting hate are from India. They are promoting hate against Pakistanis, promoting hate against Muslims in Europe, promoting hate against Chinese in America. These are Indians. They keep retweeting and reposting, and they keep posting fake news and old news, all of this. So Indians are contributing to hatred generation with working with Tommy Robinson and other very nasty American anti-immigrant people. I mean, you have to be. It's like that. The story of Mullah Nasruddin. I think I have a tiny statue here. I would have shown it to you, where you're sitting on the branch and you're cutting the tree, and once you cut the branch, you're going to fall too. So this dream of Hindu nationalists in India, that white people in the Western countries will hate Muslims and Chinese and kick them all out and then welcome all Hindus here, that's not going to work. And it's not working. You can see that. Donald Trump, you prayed for Donald Trump. There were all these havans in Delhi for Donald, Abke Baar, Trump Sarkar, and see what happened. The biggest target of Donald Trump these days, besides Venezuela, is Indians. And if Donald Trump's deal with China comes through, the TikTok thing is already resolved, then going forward, we're going to be in deep trouble. Umar has a good question. Why India didn't reform more in IT after nearly 2000 start? I don't know. I've spoken to some very prominent Indian economists. I spoke to Amarullah Khan. I spoke to Santosh Mehrotra. I've been reading others. If you don't praise Modi, then you don't get any say in policies. Okay, this is all about how Modi is great, how he's non-biological, etc. So if you don't praise Modi, then you are losing all the intellectuals who then are so frustrated with reforms. Nobody is asking the question as to why educated Indians don't have jobs. Simple question. Go and look at the data. And this is a global phenomenon, by the way. Highly educated people, young people between the ages of like 23 to 39 have less jobs. If you drop out of school before 8th grade, you have a better chance of getting a job. Plus, the jobs in formal sectors have declined. So even if you did an MS in computer science, you are doing DoorDash, or you are driving Uber or whatever Lyft you have in India. The people who are thriving are the ones whose fathers had jobs in the government and have good pensions. Even women are suffering. There's so little few jobs in India for women. This is the worst time to be an educated woman in India today. Everybody, I cannot tell you, I was in Delhi and in January last year, and I met so many academics and professors, etc., think tank people. It's very funny. So we have this formal situation in a meeting where everyone is so proud of India's story and Modi hai to mumkin hai. We are doing this. We are the fastest growing economy. We are about to overtake Japan and Germany. By 2027, we will be the third biggest. By 2035, we will be $10 trillion. By 27, or all of this, you know. And then once the meeting is over, everyone wants to come to America, and they're asking me, how can you help us? Like, what is the best way to migrate to America? Can I get H1B as a PhD in social sciences? Are there postdoctoral? And I'm looking at it and saying, you are the greatest economy on earth, with the greatest government on earth, with the greatest prime minister on earth. And so you should be looking forward to your future here. Why are you leaving this country? Plus all these cultural things, right? For the first time after 1,000 years, India is now free from foreign control. If you are free from foreign control, why are you running to the foreign countries? So it was quite perplexing to me. So Indian nationalism has become crazy, and it has no substance in it. That's the sad part of it. So if you're so proud of India, then stay back and work. So why is the talent trying to run away? Because there are no good jobs, even though the economies are. So it's a very perplexing aspect of Indian economy that it is growing the fastest. And saying the fastest among big economies really doesn't matter. Your base is small. Please keep that in mind. The average per capita income of India is $2,800. That's a per capita income. The per capita income of Germany is 54,000. The per capita income of China is 13,000. The per capita income of the US is 89,000. Okay. So if you get 1% growth on 89,000, it's $900. 6% growth on $3,000 is not much, 180. Keep that in mind, because the only number people talk about is GDP growth rate. They don't even talk about the total GDP compared to the population. That is the most important thing. Human Development Index is so low. So those are the issues, Umar. Reform is absolutely needed. India is trying to protect its agriculture sector without reforming the agricultural sector. If they had reformed the agriculture sector 20 years ago, 10 years ago, then they would be able to open the market and say, okay, let's compete. Umar is asking some very good. This Atmanirbhar talk is just rubbish. We will become Atmanirbhar, and now we are not going to buy America's jet engines. We're going to buy them from France. So how is that Atmanirbhar? I don't understand that. Only Indians seem to get that logic. Nobody, no reporter will come back and says, explain, sir, how is it Atmanirbhar to just change your vendor? Fine. Build your own engine and then tell us that you're Atmanirbhar. So there's all this talk of Atmanirbhar. Even pharmacy that India says we want to become the pharmacy. Indians talk a lot these days. I don't know why. We're going to be the pharmacy of the world. First of all, you're not. Okay. It's just $10 billion worth of exports to the United States of generic drugs. You're waiting for a certain period to go so that you can essentially copy drugs which have been researched and developed in the West. You're not doing any research of your own. You're not developing new medicines of your own. You're waiting for the intellectual property rules to expire, and then you're just copying that and you're making them cheaply and you're trying to export them. And even when you make them cheaply, a lot of the ingredients are coming from China. So two big industries, the electronics industry as well as the pharmacy industry, the main ingredients are coming from China. Even the iPhones that are made in India, it's only 20% is made in India. 80% is imported from China or Taiwan. So nobody comes back, when Modi or some other minister in the government brags about Atmanirbharta, nobody comes back and says, the other day I was watching this guy called Gadkari bragging about how the Dubai prince wanted him to come to Dubai to build roads. Really? Have you seen the roads in Dubai and have you seen the roads in India? Once it starts raining, look what happens to Bangalore or even Delhi. I've seen roads full of water floating. There's an Indian general, a retired Indian general on X. He keeps posting, he goes on walks and he posts videos and photographs of the horrible, horrible condition of roads in some of the richest neighborhoods in Delhi. And Gadkari is proud of those. He thinks that Dubai needs him. Have you seen the roads in Dubai? So this is just talk, right? This talk. He bragged that by 2024, India's roads will be better than those of the United States. It's just talk, and no one then pushes back at him and says, like, what is this rubbish? Where are the roads? Explain us to this or explain that to us. No one. The media is completely dead in India. They don't ask questions. They don't do investigative reports. Like once Gadkari makes this claim that he's built the best roads, why don't you go and make videos of American roads and Indian roads and show it to him? Or do it on your television channel and say, this is what our minister says, and this is the reality. Then he will not say a stupid thing. He'll focus on getting things done. That's how democracy works. All right. Any more members here? Sabun, yeah. Sir, J.D. Vance is a very good candidate for president in the US. I will support him. J.D. Vance is dangerous. He is Trump with a focus. He is focused. He thinks like Trump. And he's very smart. He went to Yale Law School. His wife is also a very, very smart person who used to be a Democrat. Usha Vance, and it's a formidable team. It's not like Melania and Donald Trump, and he has an advantage. So it's a different thing that Trump's policies, if they really hurt American economy. So, for example, if the tariffs increase inflation, if it reduce unemployment in America, then people could turn. And some of the policies, like now, even Republicans don't like the way ICE is working. They want illegal immigrants gone, but they don't want it done in such an inhuman and cruel way in which Donald Trump is doing this. So the November elections is going to be a kind of a referendum on all of Donald Trump's policies. And if that is the case, then we will, if Republicans get wiped out in November next year, which means they lose both the Senate and the House, then Donald Trump becomes a lame duck president. They will actually probably impeach him again. But what is going to happen is that some new Republican who is not MAGA will challenge J.D. Vance. As it is, Marco Rubio probably is going to challenge J.D. Vance. So it's going to be Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance from the MAGA crowd. And Marco Rubio is a fakester. So it will be J.D. Vance versus if Trump does well in the midterm elections, he still has 90% of the Republican support. So if he does well in the midterm elections, if the Republicans do well, then J.D. Vance will be the president, I think, most likely, because the Democrats, they are more interested in protecting Israel and Ukraine than look at the way they are behaving in New York. They're not supporting Mamdani, but all the Democrats, vast majority of Democrats, want Mamdani as mayor, and all the leading Democrats saying, oh my God, he doesn't like Israel. He's not going to be the foreign minister. He's not the prime minister of Israel. He's going to be mayor of New York. And if the Democrats continue to be stupid like that, then they will lose big time in the main election to the Republicans, who will be talking about America first, while the Democrats will be talking about Ukraine and Israel first. So I think you might, there's a pretty good chance. I think there's a 60% chance that J.D. Vance will be the next president after Donald Trump, and a 40% chance that somebody else, which means, and that somebody else is not necessarily a Democrat, somebody else could be another Republican. Yes, lots of interesting comments. Oh, wow. SMS, make a small video of that project and post it on LinkedIn. You might get a foreign investor. Make a small video like this about your project. Make sure that you don't put the technical stuff there, which might lead to other people copying it and doing better than you. But otherwise, do that, and you might find a foreign investor and a foreign country that's interested in. All right, so lots of interesting questions and comments. So thank you for watching. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. For those of you who are in India and watch BBC, you will see me on BBC also talking about H1B policies, but it's in Hindi, so you can watch that. Take care for now. Thank you for watching.